for having you here, man. This is gonna be fucking sick. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the things we are going to do in the future. I think that business, or what I'm trying to do, is use my strengths, find other people that have strengths that complement mine. I think your skills with videography, editing, really complement some of the software development skills I have, the ability to build products. And it really doesn't matter how great of a product that you build. You got to drive customers. Customers need to see the value before they even install it in their app. And you do that with social media. You do that with clips, with videos, with memes, whatever it takes to get customers to your product. It has to be what you're willing to do. I think I live a little bit by the mantra that there's no shame in the app game. So funny content, putting things out there. I don't plan on stopping.
It's better than doing nothing. And, you know, meeting you, I could just tell from very early on talking to you, the entrepreneurial mindset that you have. So I guess what kind of got you to that point to like want to pursue entrepreneurship, trying to build your own apps, trying to do your own thing?
Yeah, the entrepreneur mindset, I don't think honestly it was always there. I think that when I started on my career, I was more in the mindset of like, how do I just be successful? But I didn't necessarily think that had to be an entrepreneurial route. I had always been a decent student. So when I thought about what I was going to do with college, I thought about what's a degree that's really hard to get, because that must be a good one to get. So I decided I want to be a chemical engineer. And that was the start of my career, was when I was in high school and decided I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and applying to colleges and eventually deciding to go to Ohio State, getting my chemical engineering degree.
OH, baby.
Yeah, go Buckeyes. But I took that chemical engineering degree. I moved down to Texas and I started my first job. And when I started my first job, I think that's what kind of flipped something in my brain, that not only do I want to be an entrepreneur, I think that I need to be an entrepreneur to be happy.
What do you think about working that full-time job got you to that point? What about the full-time job made you feel kind of unfulfilled?
I think it was just the autonomy. I think that it's great to be paid for your skills. I think that is like, I see you putting this in there.
Yeah, I'm about to, man. We'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah,
we'll get into that in
it's
a bit.
appropriate for the podcast. I think that it's great to be paid for the skills. And I think that anyone that is blessed enough to have a job that they don't absolutely hate and they're getting paid for the work that they can do, I think that's enough for a lot of people to be fulfilled. I think you can work and collect your paycheck and find fulfillment outside of work, whether it's supporting your family, supporting your kids, supporting your parents, whatever you need to do to pay the bills, I think is respectable. I think working in itself is something that can give someone purpose, give someone a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And once you have that reason to get out of bed in the morning, I think other things fall into place. I think RFK, I was watching him recently and he said something about like, people nowadays want to focus on what makes them happy or finding happiness. And he said that if you just flip that out on his head and say, how can I make myself useful? Once you become useful to yourself, once you become useful to others, then the happiness kind of just comes naturally. Yeah. So
I think it's also, you know, a luxury in the 21st century that we get the free time to choose like, oh, I have a full-time job, but you know what? I'm just not happy. You know?
Yeah.
You think back to like the 50s or like the steel industry and shit like that. And it's, you know, from Youngstown, since we're both from Youngstown, we probably know a lot of people that have gone through the steel industry, and, you know, just the luck you have to live now, to be able to develop these apps and, you know, try to pursue that next greater thing, to be your own boss. It really is something that makes you feel grateful, at least me, like every day.
Yeah, even if you're fulfilling what your boss wants, I think that is going to give you a source of satisfaction. That could be like the base of the satisfaction that you have to build on. And yeah, now the modern times, like we have this ability to work anywhere and all the time. You might have to be careful a little bit so it's not like all consuming, but it does present like tons and tons of opportunities that are exciting. That's why, you know, we're here on this podcast, putting our thoughts out into the world. Exactly. Maybe we'll find someone that's interested.
Yeah, we probably will. So anyway, let's get into these apps a little bit. So I know you're developing a couple different ones, but the ones that I've been working with you on is this Zen app. So do you want to talk about kind of the purpose behind that? What gave you the inspiration for it, and kind of why you want to dive into it so much and develop it?
Yeah, well, I'll back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little more story.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm working the job. I'm fulfilling my boss. But I'm just seeing a lot of other careers that people have had. And I realized that I wanted to do something myself. I wanted to have that full autonomy where I make the paycheck, but it's also based purely on the decisions that I make. So it motivated me a lot to learn more about tech and learn about how people become successful in tech. And what I had found was a lot of people that make successful products, they're solving problems not only for other people, but they're in a way solving problems that they personally have. They're familiar with the problem. They understand the need to solve the problem. They understand the benefit if the problem is solved. And what they're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do with my products, is deliver that solution to other people. Mm-hmm. So that has, like you had just mentioned, put me on a path to create an app that helps people properly use nicotine. Nicotine has gained in popularity a lot after it kind of went through the lull of people understanding like the negative impacts of using tobacco, smoking cigarettes. I mean, it's well documented, obviously. You don't need me to tell you this, that cigarettes cause cancer. Dip causes cancer. I think Huberman said that 1 pack of cigarettes a day, if you smoke on average, takes 14 years off of your life. That's calculated. And if you dip, it's a 50 times increase in mouth cancer.
Oh my God.
So I personally, I was a baseball player. I like to dip, and I kind of was on and off with nicotine through most of my like young adulthood. And I never really got into the vaping, but once I started using Zyn years ago, I really became hooked. Zyn is something I've used because I enjoy it. Zyn is something I use because I think it's helped me. But I think that overall, I've basically trained my body to become addicted to it. Not just because I'm like dealing with cravings, but because in a way it's rewired my brain to enhance my motivation, enhance my focus. And I'm using it to the point where it's probably causing some negative side effects. Yeah. So I wanted to create a product that helped people keep themselves in check and prevent themselves to getting to the point where I've gotten with the amount that I'm using it. But not only that, if they have gotten to the point where I've gotten, they have a tool that they can use to reduce their usage.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, you know, you had the cigarette boom, and that people say tobacco is what the country was founded upon, and massive industry. You know, everyone was doing it. 10-year-olds smoking cigs. But now it's like Gen Z's generation is like this new wave of nicotine. Yeah. It's just repackaged in this new, you know, this new form, vapes and Zyns. And really it's, you know, theoretically doing a very similar thing. It's just getting you that nicotine buzz.
It's funny you say that because nicotine, the society took a break from nicotine, right? But one of the funniest memes that I've seen was this guy, and he's like basically giving off the persona of like an 18-year-old and being like, my generation, like cigarettes, we're done with cigarettes. Cigarettes are over. And then you hear audio from the background. And it's like talking about how they're mango flavored. He's like, you got mango flavored? And it's like the generation went from not using nicotine to being the most addicted generation of all time.
Literally. And it's so funny because like I'll talk to people who will vape every day or do Zyns every day. And you pull out an actual cigarette and they're just like, oh my God, that's fucking disgusting, dude. Like, I can't believe you would fucking do that. That's so bad for you. And I'm like, dude, we don't even know what the fucking vapes or the Zyns are doing. Like, there's no fucking long-term studies on that shit. Like, how are you gonna fucking judge me because I fucking smoke actual tobacco? And I mean, no one should smoke actual tobacco, but I'm just saying the hypocrisy is fucking unreal.
Yeah, it's so true. And now it's like, yeah, back to the generational thing. It's like previous generations were worried about like heavy metals in their brain, or the use of tobacco or these side effects, or
Seed oils.
lead in the paint. Well, just the previous generations. Now we're worried about microplastics, and like you're getting microplastics from vapes. I'm assuming you're getting microplastics from Zen.
Yeah.
I don't see any other way. But back to the memes, like the memes, nicotine, they go hand in hand. Some of the best memes I've seen are related to nicotine. I created a meme account to promote the app, Pop a Pouch, Pouch Buddy app. You can follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, can we,
You want to pull that up?
Yeah,
Gary?
pull that up real quick. Put it on the TV. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so this is my meme account. Little introduction to the viewers of the product. I've been posting memes for about 3 months now. Occasionally I'll throw in a video. Go to that video, Gary. I made a Severance parody. This one, I think it's got to around 700,000 views now. But people love nicotine memes.
Citrus. Your Audi puts in not one, but 2 upper deckies at the same time. Please, Frank, please try to enjoy each fact equally. Your Audi cannot go 30 minutes without putting in a zip. Your Audi.
Yeah. So this was
Genius. Most popular TV show today.
this was a video I made, and just you can really get a gauge for the interest that people will have in a product, or an interest that people will have in a show or a book or even a podcast based on the memes, and the engagement or the connection that they have with people. We were talking about like the society of like the country or the nation being built on tobacco. One of the funniest memes, or a meme that connects with me, is the one where it shows the grid of 4 societies, and it's like society built on alcohol, society built on weed, society built on nicotine. I'm not sure what the other one is, but
Sure.
Here's another meme Gary's got pulled up for us. This meme has, I think, 4 million views.
Wow.
But yeah, it's really connects with people. That's
amazing.
It's about how nicotine helps people get through their workday. So this one is 9 to 5 me is being held back by 2s in an hour, or workplace violence is going to come to the job. But
Sure.
These memes connect with people, and people know that they have a problem. So I'm trying to introduce them to my product through funny memes.
Yeah, makes sense. So before we dive into Zyn and the side effects and those reasons why you made this in the first place, what's a day-to-day schedule for you look like? Like, I know you and your brother Gary are working what seems like non-fucking stop.
Right.
So, what's it been like growing these apps, and what's that day-to-day process like?
Yeah. So as we're growing the apps, we're focusing on leveraging our strength. So in an ideal world, me and Gary are going to wake up, we're going to eat our eggs, drink our coffee, and then just write the most beautiful hot shit code that anyone has ever seen. That's the ideal world.
Yeah.
Now, I had to talk to you about this at the beginning, where I had mentioned that I like working with you because some of your strengths complement mine. And what I found, or what we've found as we've been building this product, is that building the product is just a piece to the puzzle. You need to not only attract customers, you also need to service customers that are having problems. You need to understand your customers to deliver the features or the use cases that they want in your app. And you also need to work with other people. You can't do everything by yourself. Yeah, maybe I've made some memes, I've made some videos, but I know to take this to the next level, I need to be working with other folks that their strengths are things that I just simply don't have. So throughout the day, I might be contacting some contractors through Upwork that I'm paying to make icons for my app, or redesigning some of the pages in my app. I had mentioned, but handling some customer service, responding to emails, even ideating with Gary on what we should build in what order, monitoring our bank account, making sure that our ads aren't spending too much for the amount of money that we have coming in.
Right.
But really, in the day-to-day, what we're trying to do is put out a better product than the day we had before and attract more customers than the days we had prior.
Yeah.
So continually just trying to grow the products. And another thing that's really came and kind of, you would think this wouldn't actually be the case. I skipped over a little bit of this part, but I have a master's in statistics, and I had thought, I was going to jump into the AI world and I was going to build machine learning models, and that was going to be my career. I was going to be happy working and doing these things at large scale on supercomputers. And although I decided that I wanted to go the route of building my own products, and when you're building your own products, in my case, we're not investing, $200,000 to build a new AI model for our products. We're leveraging things that other people had built.
That's not the Youngstown way. We fucking have no money. It's fucked up.
Exactly. So we're grinding it out.
Literally.
But what has came into the day to day, which I didn't expect, is all these AI tools for marketing, or even like creating images for marketing, creating images for content, creating videos for content, having AI help you write the code, or have AI help you plan. That is definitely a huge part of our day to day, is just interacting with ChatGPT or Claude or any of the image generators. We've tried them all. We have products around them. But using AI, I think, is something that any entrepreneur or any person now that wants to compete with others, they need to be able to stand on the strengths that they have, but also widen the scope of what they're capable of within a given time period through the AI tool. So that's very much part of the day-to-day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I was just listening to a podcast, the All In podcast, with like David Sachs and all them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they said, was like, learn these fucking AI tools and it's going to be a lot easier to get a job pretty much everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But all that's super interesting, man, because I know there's a lot of people out there that would want to start their own company, build their own apps. There's a lot of software engineers. So it's just good to hear it from someone actually going through it right now.
Yeah.
And that's you.
I think just to give the folks a little bit of motivation, I think that once you get something to the finish line, what happens to a lot of people, what happened to myself and Gary over there early on, was we would build things, and we would build these great things, but we didn't get that harsh, like, crackback feedback from the real world by not crossing the finish line. So crossing the finish line, I'm saying that, but what I mean is, like, you edit the video, but you don't actually post it, or you post 2 videos, you don't actually create a brand around your account. Doing all of those things leaves you a lot more susceptible to feedback from the world that you're not good. But the only way that you can get better is accept the fact that you're not good, evaluate what you can do better, and then use your skills to actually get better. And if you kind of are a little hesitant to cross the finish line on everything that you do, you're gonna put yourself in a position where you never actually are able to accept the fact that you're not good, and then build on your skills and get better.
Yeah.
So that's something I think me and Gary have shut something off in our brain, where when something sucks, it's okay. It's just got to make it better next time.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, it's just a fucking grind.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems like. The grind is fucking obviously the hardest part, just over and over again, doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to take me through your Zen inspiration a little bit more in depth here, and I want you to break down maybe the side effects or however it is that got you into why you want to make this.
Let's start with the product itself. Well, I kind of touched on this before. I'll talk about this briefly. Then we can talk about the product itself, how it came to be, and then we can talk about some of the side effects of Zen or just nicotine itself. So I mentioned this before, but I've been a nicotine user for years now. I've been a Zen user for years now. Using Zen every single day. for the most part, first thing when I wake up. Sometimes your body just doesn't have that like craving and maybe you skip a few hours. But for me, for the most part, it's just about every single day. And I think that this is well known and kind of studied, but any sort of addiction is like, it's something that you isolate yourself in. So maybe like it's easier to use nicotine or smoke your weed or drink alcohol by yourself because you don't have this like external judgment. So that was some of the inspiration for our app, which is called Pouch Buddy. And it's not only an app that allows you to track your nicotine usage, but it allows you to track your nicotine usage with your friends. So I think that like maybe at some point in time they were passing around, you know, the peace pipe, which might have had tobacco, maybe some other stuff. Yeah,
It's right there, dude.
Yeah,
That's one of the Native American peace pipes.
Nice. Yeah. So what were those people doing? They weren't addicted. They were socializing. They were sitting in a circle, smoking the peace pipe together. But when you're kind of ashamed or afraid of the actions that you're taking and you're choosing to do them in isolation because you don't want other people around you to know, like, to the extent of what you're doing to your body, it kind of encapsulates yourself socially in your mind. It encapsulates yourself a little bit, and it allows your addiction to probably get a little bit worse than it should. So that is the motivation for the name of Pouch Buddy. Some of the idea around why we have this nicotine tracking tool that folks can do with their friends. Now, we learned that nicotine users need other features beyond just being able to track with their friends. So we started to introduce that information to the users, and that's from feedback that we got from our users. But within Pouch Buddy, when you download the app, the first thing that you're going to get is you're going to get a survey. And the survey is going to allow us to give you a quick and in-your-face analysis of how addicted to nicotine you are. Once you accept the fact that you're addicted to nicotine, that's just the first step in making progress of using nicotine as a tool as opposed to a crutch that you're constantly using where you're actually receiving no benefit from, and you're kind of like tethered to the cravings. You're tethered to the rewiring of your brain that's occurred, and you're not really capable of breaking the cycle. So first feature we introduced was tracking with friends. Simple app, you're just pressing a button every time you're using a pouch, and then your friends are getting a notification and they're seeing the fact that you're using nicotine. So they can either use nicotine with you, send you a text message and say, hey, see you put in your morning pouch right there with you, brother.
Right. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I need.
Or, you know, you rag on your friend and you say, hey, you know, you went through a can today. Can you do that every day for the rest of your life? Like financially or physically?
Right.
Probably not. But sometimes you need a friend to tell you that.
Yeah.
So we have that. We also introduced metrics that I found personally very beneficial to trying to cut back on nicotine. The one that I like the most is your first pouch of the day. So you're basically getting a timestamp that you can compare to your previous day. It's like the easiest way to get started in the right direction. Yeah, Gary pulled it up here. You can see the daily trends. So if you just wanted to download the app and get one small victory in the right direction, all you need to do is track your nicotine usage for one day. And then on that second day, have your first pouch an hour after you did the day previously.
Right.
That kind of corresponds really well to the last pouch of the day. Same concept. You have 2 wins on your second day of your nicotine,
Right.
kind of trying to get control of your choices on that journey. You get 2 wins. We also tell you between that first and last pouch how many pouches you're using per hour. So that's another metric that you can focus on throughout the day to know that if yesterday you had 1 pouch per hour, let's try to get it to 0.8 pouches per hour, or half a pouch per hour, which should be 1 pouch every 2 hours. So within the first day, you're collecting wins, you're collecting W's.
That's the best.
Right off the rip.
Need those easy dubs, man.
Easy, yeah. We all need easy dubs. Also incorporated, I think a big thing, and it's helped me cut back tremendously. Easy win is getting off the 6s and switching to the 3s. So not only are we just looking at pouches,
Maybe I should fucking do that myself. Man. These fucking sixes just slam you. That's what I want.
yeah, right? That's what we all want. So that milligrams, is that what milligrams per day, milligrams per hour, Gary? Yeah, milligrams per day. So that's your I guess your fourth dub that you can get on day 2.
Sure.
Wait a little bit longer on your first pouch. Don't put in a pouch as close before you're going to bed. Make sure that throughout the day you've reduced your hourly rate, your hours per pouch,
Sure.
a little bit,
Sure.
and do the same thing with nicotine per day.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, for sure. The other screenshots are an experiment. The other screenshots should show our newest feature, which one that we're very proud of, is a scatter plot. It basically shows your weekly, a view of your week, and every single day, from top to bottom is every hour in the day, and you can see a dot for every single pouch that you've had, and that kind of gives you your first and last pouch a sense of that throughout the entire week, and then all the pouches in between.
Gotcha.
So that's another feature that was actually inspired by one of our users. They said that this was a view that they specifically wanted, and we thought, you know what, actually that's a pretty good view. We like that view, so we're going to go ahead and build that, and we built that for them. And that's a lot of the app process, is putting your thing out in the world, getting user feedback, and then delivering the features that they want.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's our landing page. It talks a little bit about our features. There's a cool thing on there. Pouch Buddy to date. This is real time, so if anyone logs a pouch, that number is going to go up. Wow. But 12,792 pouches have been logged in the app since we put it in the App Store a few months ago, and that number is growing quickly.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah, we can
Track them all.
Yeah, we talking about complementing skills and just growing a product. That number has significantly started to grow after we introduced the video that we shot together. If you want to show that, Gary. But this is a little bit of a mix of the funny content and awareness of your product. But this is out on 6th Street in Austin. Did you have fun doing this?
Oh, dude, this was awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
That's why I'm down to do it again.
Yeah.
These women did not like the Zins, man. The women don't like it.
Some of the comments on the video are
This
pretty
dude
funny.
fucking slammed a whole fucking can, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
This guy was a goat. He loved it. This
Yeah.
guy is a user for sure now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Me explaining the product.
Yeah, and we're gonna do something like this again, and we're gonna make it even better, more engaging, get the
sure.
point across better, and we're gonna really hammer home one of the points that women really don't like the Zins. There's something about it, man. It's probably the taste. Makes you feel, not very cleanly.
Welcome to
The
Got a gross ass mouth. Something about it.
your Audis.
But they did not. They made it very clear they were not fans. So
a funny comment on that video, one of the funnier comments was, so you got these girls talking about how they don't like Zyn, right? They don't like guys that Zyn. Well, some guy called out the girls because 2 of the girls were wearing see-through tops. Like, obviously they're wearing clothes underneath.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't like my Zyn, but
But you can walk around basically naked and showing everyone your tits all day.
Yeah. So that controversy on these videos breeds engagement.
100%.
So
Controversy is one way to get famous.
Something that you want. It's not exactly what I expected when you put that out there, but
Maybe you
I
guys
thought
should
that was
start
pretty
tweeting like
funny.
Kanye, man. Maybe you guys will really start getting those controversial responses.
Some of my memes, I'm not too afraid of the controversy, but
You never know what you're gonna get.
yeah, you never know with the comments.
But take me through. So these side effects from Zins, because I don't even know exactly what they are. And, we can pause here if you want, and you can brush up whatever you want to do. But I want to just get a list back to back of you just saying some of these side effects.
Well, so the side effects has a lot to do with the features in the app. So we talked about some of the metrics, some of the W's that you can get. But what the app also offers is a cutback/quit plan. So if you're using 10 pouches a day and you want to get to 5 pouches a day, we give you a little journey. You can choose 30 days or 60 days. And this quit plan kind of aligns with some of the thought process behind the side effects, because a lot of people are using Zyn these days to help them perform at work. So they have a task that they're not super motivated in doing, and they don't have a lot of focus. And what nicotine is capable of doing is it's capable of going into your brain and actually impacting the brain chemistry that is going to limit your motivation and limit your focus. So nicotine's actually going to enhance those things. But the problem is that when people start using nicotine as an enhancement to perform at work, they rewire their brain to the point where they not only don't receive the benefit of focus or motivation, but they reduce their baseline focus and motivation for when they're not using nicotine. So there may be, let's say, on an arbitrary scale, they're a person that has motivation 8 out of 10. They use a Zyn and it boosts them up to 10 out of 10 motivation focus for a period of an hour. Well, when they're no longer using nicotine, after they've used nicotine for a few months, say, their baseline focus and motivation for those same tasks, if you were to measure it in like a study scenario, would probably be like a 6 or 7. So they're actually reducing their ability to perform without nicotine by using nicotine to enhance. And that gets exasperated a lot more the more you rely on nicotine for focus and motivation. And you eventually get to the point where your motivation and focus has basically been baked into the way that you've rewired your brain. Now, when you do that, you end up using nicotine all the time. And when you're using nicotine all the time is when you can actually feel physical side effects. Now, I've done some of this research myself as a nicotine user to understand what am I actually doing to my body. And there are a few things that scare me. Now, I'm not an anxious person personally, but a lot of our users report that they're using our app because they're struggling with anxiety or depression related to nicotine usage. And that comes from exactly the thing that I just talked about, where they're reducing their baseline for focus or motivation, but what they're doing more specifically in their brain is they're affecting their dopamine. So if they're using nicotine to increase their focus and motivation, they're most likely using nicotine to actually increase their dopamine for that period of hour. And then what happens when they're not using nicotine is their baseline dopamine is now reduced, and they need nicotine to increase their dopamine. So one of the big side effects that people are feeling is basically they're depressed or anxious because they've now reduced their basically baseline dopamine output. That's one of the major side effects that people are feeling with nicotine. There's sorry. There's also a lot of more physical side effects from constantly using nicotine. So what nicotine does is obviously impacts your brain chemistry, which I've mentioned, but it also increases your heart rate and it increases your blood pressure. What nicotine essentially does is it puts you in a state of taking action. Like it triggers a little bit of your like flight or fight response, and it physically induces like a reaction that you might have when you are going to do some activity that you're like excited about, where your heart's increasing, your blood pressure is increasing. But by artificially doing that with nicotine and constantly having a higher heart rate, higher blood pressure, you're damaging the blood vessels themselves. And you're constantly applying pressure on the blood vessels. And one of the biggest, scariest side effects of nicotine that I've came across research is by constantly having this artificially increased blood pressure and heart rate, you're basically impacting your sexual performance. So if you're worried about getting a boner and you're zenning, you can quickly impact your ability to get a boner by cutting back on Zyn. Now, I'm not telling you that the first day you quit Zyn, you're going to go back to where you were before you ever started Zyn in the first place, but you're going to start your body on this journey of repairing those blood vessels, repairing any sort of damage that you've created by having this elevated blood pressure, elevated stress that you're putting on all of your veins and arteries. And because boner it's so important for blood pressure, heavy blood pressure, when you're artificially increasing that to write an email, I'm assuming you're not sexually aroused, you have more difficulty driving blood flow to your penis. And even if you don't have trouble getting boners, it's pretty well documented that your boners will be less big if you're a heavy nicotine user.
So in other words, if you're using nicotine or you're using Zyns, you have a tinier penis than if you're not.
That is fact.
Jesus Christ.
And let's pull up the Huberman clip that where he talks about this. Well, he calls it penile girth.
I mean, if that doesn't convince you, I really don't know what the fuck will. So maybe you should fucking download the app right here.
In humans that indicate that, for instance, nicotine can reduce penile girth, that is the girth of the penis, and can lead to certain forms of sexual dysfunction. And those changes are largely downstream of changes in blood flow and endothelial cell function. Endothelial cells are the cells that make up blood vessels and other vascular type tissues within the brain and body. So nicotine is found in these plants, and what we can know for sure is that at some point...
He puts it a little more elegantly.
Right, but let's just get to the fucking point.
Yeah, the point is, like you said, you have a smaller penis if you use nicotine. Unfortunately for both of us. I saw you put a Zyn under the table.
Your fucking dick just shrunk 2 inches. I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was blessed with an absolutely magnificent penis, so I'm not too concerned about it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That makes one of us. But yeah, some of the other side effects, they kind of all cascade from either the brain chemistry or the blood vessel. A lot of our users report that they want to cut back on nicotine because of stomach issues. And that has a lot to do with the kind of hormones that are being released after you've rewired your brain. I thought it was something a little different than that, but it seems like it is more related just to brain chemistry and the hormones that are then being released. So the blood vessel stuff is what kind of puts you in this fight or flight sense, because you have this heightened sense of just your blood pumping, your heart is pumping harder with nicotine, your blood vessels are being pushed harder because of the heart pumping harder, so you have higher blood pressure. But one of the interesting things is, even with all of the blood flow that is being pumped harder, you're actually getting blood to your muscles much less efficiently. So if you wanted to work out, taking nicotine an hour before is going to be extremely detrimental to your workout. It's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. You're going to significantly reduce your body's ability to deliver oxygen to your muscles while you're working out. And not only that, if you're performing some sort of extreme motor activity where you needed extreme performance of your muscles, nicotine has this weird effect where it increases your brain focus, but it actually relaxes your muscles. So your muscles aren't getting that oxygen, and because they're not getting that oxygen, they're more relaxed. So of course, for weightlifting, that's going to be a problem. But if you were to play some sort of high intensity sport like basketball, or you were going to do mixed martial arts or whatever, your muscles are actually going to have a slower reaction time than if you weren't using nicotine. And just like the thing I had mentioned with the penile girth, that if you're constantly under high blood pressure, you could actually damage some of the tissue in these small vessels that allow for blood flow to get to different areas. You can do the same thing with your extremities, your muscles. They're simply going to get less blood flow as a habitual nicotine user. One of the weirdest things I came across is related to metabolism. So kind of everyone knows that, and this is kind of related to working out too. You're a pretty thin, fit guy. I am myself. I would consider myself what they call like a hard gainer. So it's a little bit harder for me to.
Dude, I can't gain weight for shit.
Exactly.
Tried so many times.
And everyone knows that nicotine is a muscle or is an appetite suppressant. So you're just naturally going to want to eat less. But something really interesting that I found was it actually affects the part of your brain that drives your desire to move your jaw. So not only does it impact your motivation to chew food, so it reduces your desire to eat because it makes you your appetite suppressed. Then it reduces the motivation for you to move your jaw to chew. So that's twofold. And then threefold, it increases your metabolism. So those three things basically you're working against if you're trying to gain muscle mass. Right. Then on top of this, one of the biggest abilities to put muscle on your body is your ability to repair your muscles while you sleep. So high quality sleep is one of the best things you could possibly do to increase muscle mass while you're doing like a strict or like a heavy weightlifting regimen. But what nicotine does related to the jaw, make you not want to move your jaw, well, that could cause you to sit at your computer with this very still jaw. And for a lot of people, that's a position where their mouth is open. So it then makes it less motivating for you to breathe through your nose and you're breathing through your mouth. So your appetite's suppressed, your metabolism's increase, you're less likely to move your mouth, and now you're more likely to breathe through your mouth because you're just sitting there responding to an email.
Just fucking mouth breathing.
With your, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ever notice that when you put in a Zen, you're kind of like, your mouth is just like kind of open as it's just sitting there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so those things all together are going to be extremely detrimental to any chances that you have at gaining weight, gaining muscle.
Damn. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, what else I got here in my notes?
What else are you going to ruin for me today? Fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, take me through it here.
Yeah, I think a lot of just the side effects really stem from rewiring your brain. You not only do you get you start to get your motivation and your focus from the use of nicotine. What actually happens is it starts to drown out all of the other things that used to give you that motivation or focus or dopamine. And that is like a tried and true or just a very well-known aspect of addiction is what happens is it narrows the window of what gives you happiness or dopamine. So you're actually, not only are you becoming addicted to the substance and relying on it to give you what you want, you're actually making all the other things in your life, like getting a new job or getting a promotion or waking up early, whatever the small little win that you're trying to do in your life, you're actually going to get a little bit less return than you would have normally if you hadn't rewired your brain to have the dopamine release be so associated with the substance.
Right.
So we have like some of the impacts that has related to like anxiety and depression, all of the negative sexual impacts that Zyn has, and then how all that blood flow stuff relates to your ability to have a good workout, get a good pump. But even if you're a person that really doesn't struggle with anxiety or depression, like you might not even be noticing the fact that you're not getting the satisfaction from some of the things that you would have previously, or to the extent that you would, just because you've decided, I'm going to take the route of being a person that is habitual nicotine user.
Right.
One thing I haven't talked about yet is just the impact on people's gums. This is another one that scares me. I've heard stories of people having to get like skin grafts or gum grafts to like replace like the spot. And like, if you're like me, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but like after a night out or maybe just an intense work day, some soreness in the mouth.
Absolutely. Skin literally deteriorates. Like,
yeah.
If you do fucking 6 in the same spot.
Yeah.
6 Zyns back to back, same spot, like your fucking mouth is fucked.
I've seen a video.
And your teeth, I mean, from when I do it, your teeth get real fucking dirty
Yeah.
way faster, grimy.
Yeah,
It's fucking
it's
pretty
like
nasty.
that. There's the physical aspect of like the whatever they put in it to allow it to like get into your blood, but it's like damaging your enamel.
Right.
And like I don't think it's necessarily grinding off the skin. What I think is happening is it's making those blood vessels where the nicotine goes in constrict so much that gum tissue just no longer can have blood delivered to it. So the body is like, I can't get blood here. So this thing is just essentially dead.
Right.
So this skin just needs to go away.
Right.
And then it just pulls right off your tooth.
Ugh.
And next thing you know, you're sitting in a dentist chair and they're like, well, bucko, you're 2 years away from
You're fucked.
get your skin completely replaced in this part of your mouth. So that's something that scared me.
Yeah, I've heard it causes cavities too, and I've had a lot of my friends reach out. Well, not reach out, but tell me that they think it causes tonsil stones as well.
Oh.
Whenever they start doing it, like they get a lot of tonsil stones, which are fucking disgusting,
Yeah.
stink, and
Tonsil stones are some of the nastiest
they're
smelling
so
things
fucking
that
gross,
I've ever
dude.
seen in my life.
Yeah, but I had a couple of friends tell me that. But either way, well, that's all super interesting, man. And I think what you're doing is for a good cause. And I think a lot of people in our generation, mainly men who are using Zins. I mean, some women do, but I feel like it's mainly men. Honestly, need something like this because we really seem to find it hard to stop. You know, and we like to just ignore how often we're using them. I know that's how it is for me, but
For sure.
but yeah. So I think what you're doing's fucking a good thing for people, man.
Yeah, once you get to that point where your brain has actually been rewired and everything that you're doing isn't really getting you to the place mentally that you think you should be, and then you use a Zyn to kind of replace the natural things that would occur in your mind, you really put yourself in a position where you have to make a choice of, am I going to continue using nicotine at this rate, continually receiving diminished returns of the benefit, or am I actually going to check myself? And our product isn't a steadfast quit nicotine completely. I think that for myself, I need to quit nicotine for a period of time. And once I've quit nicotine for a period of time, I can then begin to reintroduce it as a tool. I think for some people that haven't gotten to the place where I've gotten, they can just use this tool to make sure that they never kind of go over the cliff where they need to completely stop for some period of time. But that was important to us when we designed the tool. We wanted this to be a nicotine tool that really gives you three options. You can prevent the increase of using nicotine. You can cut back from the rate that you're currently using it, or you can choose to quit and take a break for an extended period of time. Once you've quit completely or achieved your goal of quitting or cutting back, or you've monitored and you're not going above some sort of levels, then you put yourself in a position where you actually have control of the choice that you're making. Without even realizing it, nicotine is dictating the choices that you're making, the emotions you're feeling. And what you want to do is be in a position where you're using nicotine as a tool, you're controlling the amount that you're using it. You're not allowing it to control when you're happy or when you're motivated or when you're focused. So I think that anyone that is in the position that nicotine is controlling when you're focused, when you're motivated, when you're feeling that sense of excitement, then it's time to get your choices back in control. And I think a tool is going to mitigate some of the extreme pain that you might feel from trying to quit cold turkey or just quit in general. And if you can give yourself that dopamine from small victories on your journey by using the statistics or the information that we provide in the app, then you're going to be a lot more motivated and have a lot better chance of increasing your chances of getting back control of your choices. And I didn't even touch on one of the main drivers of why we built the app was to keep your friends in check or have your friends keep you in check, hence the name Pouch Buddy. So I think that's one of the coolest things. Every time Gary Zins, I get a notification on my phone. Whenever I Zin, he gets a notification on my phone, or he gets a notification on his phone. So I think that bringing that community aspect of it, not being something that you do complete in isolation, is gonna make sure you're using it as a tool, make sure that it's not using you, and you're controlling the choices that you're making every single day related to nicotine.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So many people I feel are just slamming a can a day or a can and a half a day and just not even thinking twice about it.
Yeah,
But
it costs a lot of money. And just when we're talking about like brain chemistry and nicotine and how it has these impacts on the body, like I think maybe some people might be like, that's kind of like bullshit or whatever. But when you realize how much nicotine you're getting when you're using Zyn, I think you'd be surprised. I want to show you something.
yeah.
So about how many Zyns would you say that you have per day?
Recently, I hate to admit this, but I've easily been doing 10 a day,
10 a day.
10 sixers a day.
So 30 days in a month, that's 300.
Yeah.
And 6 milligrams, so that's 800 milligrams of nicotine. So 800 milligrams of nicotine. Let's calculate how many cigarettes you'd have to smoke.
Oh God.
Yeah, we'll do it right here.
Oh God. It's probably a lot. It's probably like a pack, if not maybe more. Because I feel like the
In a
six
month,
is.
it has to
Oh,
be
in a
way
month?
more.
Way
well,
more. I was talking a day, but the thing about the sixes is they're so fucking. They almost make you sweat. You know, like they
Yeah.
fucking.
They feel great.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an important part too of this whole thing is you're a nicotine user yourself. It's not like you're out here, 19, Ronald Reagan fucking quit all drugs, quit this thing completely. You're more saying, look, I'm a user. I've gotten out of hand with it. And I think it's important that people can control this rather than let it control you.
Right.
Yeah. I think that is a super important part.
So you had mentioned 10 Zyns a day, so around 300 Zyns in a month, and then each one of those is 6 milligrams. So how many milligrams of nicotine do you think it delivered with the cigarette?
With the cigarette?
Yeah.
Like how many cigarettes?
No, how much nicotine in one single cigarette?
Oh, fuck. I don't know. I'll say 100.
Well, around 1 to 2 milligrams.
Oh my God.
So you're smoking the equivalent of that many cigarettes. A little less than
1,800
yeah.
cigarettes
yeah,
in a month.
and that's from Zyn.
So that would be 18 divided by 20. So 90 packs because there's 20 cigarettes in a pack.
yeah,
That'd be 90 packs in a month
yeah. So
from doing 10. So let me get this straight. So 10 6 milligram Zyns a day for a month equals 90 packs of cigarettes.
I think that's correct based on those
Oh
numbers.
my fucking God.
Yeah.
Jesus,
That's
fuck,
why
dude.
that's why these things are so addictive, and that's why the rewiring of the brain chemistry and all that stuff it's real.
No wonder that it fucking has me sweating, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. All right, well, that's probably why the girls don't like it, That's not exactly the most fucking attractive thing. Well, that's a fuck ton. It's ruined now, No, I'm just kidding.
It's brutal.
But anyway, I think we could probably wrap this up here. And I know you have other apps that you want to talk about in the future. If you want to ever come on and fucking discuss those, it'd be fucking sick. And
Yeah,
man, I think
nicotine's not the only
why don't you
problem
just give
I got.
give a quick list of other apps you're working on real quick.
The
If
other
you have a couple different ones.
the other main product that we've built is a co-parenting app called Kid Time. Gary's got the website up here. So I have a daughter. She's almost 3 years old. My favorite person in the whole wide world. And in raising her as a co-parent, it comes with some challenges. And I personally struggled with communicating with my co-parent. And some of the communication issues that we had stemmed around not having perfect record of what had occurred as far as co-parenting went.
Sure.
So we had tried like Google Calendar or just Apple Calendar, and those tools give you a good way to schedule things in the future. But when it comes to having concrete, factual evidence and statistics about everything that had occurred. They don't really give you that information very well. So we created a product that's specifically around giving co-parents that information. So whenever they're having a conversation, they can have as least amount of he said, she said, or this happened, no, this happened conversations. And that's what Kid Time really solves for, is helping co-parents have less conversations that are high friction, high conflict, and the source of the conflict is about not having facts of what actually happened.
Right.
When you have facts of what actually happened, then you're not going to have conflict on discussing in the future, because two people who are capable of understanding evidence that they have, they're just a lot less likely to fight about it, because it's just real. And not only that, not only does the information prevent those high conflict interactions, they also drive actions in the future to better the situation. So I would say, since using this app that I built with Gary, with my co-parent, we have less high conflict conversations, and we also both stick to the schedule as we're supposed to much more closely than if we didn't have factual information about the past, because then we can plan for the future, and we can basically both do what we said we were going to do, no matter if the schedule has to change, because she wants to take my daughter to one of her cousin's birthdays, or my parents are going to be in town, so she's going to spend a little bit extra time with me. The fact that we have that documented makes all of the conversations about planning in the future much less conflict, much more enjoyable, and it's greatly improved my life. And I'll be happy to come back, talk about that.
Yeah, we can dive into that next time. That's something that's really, really interesting to me. I grew up with divorced parents myself, and there was always high friction conversation, scheduling, who has who when, and here's my compromise, or here's where I won't compromise. So I really, really love that idea. I think it's really fucking good, and I think that's even something that could get state sponsored as well. Yeah, because so much of it goes to the state as well, that something like that would be so useful to have.
Yeah, documented compromising. That could be, a tagline for the app, because once you have a documented compromise, it makes the discussion about a future compromise go way more smoother.
Right.
If you don't have the previous compromise documented, they might not receive credit for it. You might not receive credit for it. They might have forgot it. You might have forgot it. But just having it and having the peace of mind that you can always reference it, then you don't have to hold back as much when you are compromising, because you know that you're going to be able to basically, be on the beneficiary side of a compromise in the future. And that's really what the app's all about.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I fucking love it. Well, Vince, it was fucking great. You'll come back in the future, bro. We'll get this done.
For sure.
This was fucking sick. I'm excited to see what we come up with. I'm excited to see what you come up with this. So I think that's it.